everyone. How are you? It is myself, Anna, and Michelle again here today. And we are doing a cocktail called The Business. And we're getting down to business by talking about what makes a suite legal and how does that affect your value. So this is kind of a fun topic because people always ask us as realtors, is they say, is it worth building a suite if it's legal or illegal? Is it worth going through that extra money? And I know for me, like I always talk to our clients about, and I know these guys do too, about cost benefit. Is here, I'm going to move over, I'm like squishing the screen. It's always about cost benefit, right? Like the cost benefit really is about, are you going to put enough money to get enough money back? Because there's no point in losing money in real estate if you can avoid it, right?
That's right.
Definitely.
So, but let's talk first about the cocktail.
Yes.
And our cocktail is actually going to be kind of fun because what these guys don't know is I made one with Empress Gin just because I love the way it looks because it's so pretty. And I made another one with completely non-spirited gin. So it's actually not alcoholic, but it will taste just like the other ones. So you guys will be able to taste the difference. And then I'm going to make one with regular gin.
All right.
So here, let's get going. This is a super simple, easy drink. And what's kind of nice about this drink is I actually already pre-made the honey syrup, which was just honey, sugar, water, boiling on the stove, which I actually made while I was making honey crullers this morning, French crullers. And I was making another dessert, which I thought was kind of cool that I ate at the Cactus
But
Club.
she didn't bring that at all.
I didn't bring that.
And they're not gluten free, obviously. So.
No, they're not gluten-free, I know.
But thanks
So,
for sharing.
they're all at home. So we're going to start with our 2 ounces of gin. And then Anna has kindly given us nice chilled martini glasses.
Yes. Actually, ice is already melted, so they're perfectly chilled.
They're perfectly chilled.
Yeah. I'm just going to put it on that side so you can.
Do you want me to dump it?
No, we'll wait
Okay.
until it's time.
I'm just going to splash.
Now, I'm supposed to put in 3/4 of an ounce of the honey syrup, but I'm putting
no.
in more than that now.
Okay, don't
The
step
top.
on
Yeah,
it.
don't step on that honey down
Okay,
there.
maybe put a
So,
little bit more lime.
No, it's okay.
No?
We'll be fine.
Gin or gin?
No, we'll be fine. We don't need more gin. And then we're going to shake dance.
Oh, right. It's obviously like sleeping today. We're like,
Is salt and pepper sugar?
right? We should
All right,
get
now
an
we're gonna-
instrument.
Yeah.
The band. Yeah.
Mine will obviously be a bit sweeter than your guys's.
Well, why do you get the sweet one?
So I'll drink anyone. I think they're all going to have cool taste. And that's actually one thing that's really neat about gin is because there's so many different gins and so many different botanicals when it comes to gin nowadays that you can actually do, like you can have
think
a ton of different gins.
Can you see it? Maybe we should lift them all up
There.
here so you
So-
guys can see.
And then the other thing, if you notice,
the
is
difference.
our garnishes.
Yeah,
And the
the
reason I did the different
flowers.
garnishes is I actually went on Amazon and I got dried flowers, so pressed dried flowers that were
Yeah,
edible.
it's very pretty. There's an
Yeah,
it's
orchid.
pretty.
There's whatever they call those
Yeah,
ones.
pansies.
Pansy.
And
Yeah.
I grabbed them specifically
Yeah.
because I wanted to be able
We'll
to
have to, like,
have these.
Do a
to
taste
do-
off of all kinds.
Mhm.
But
Okay,
these,
and the
just-
but hang
flowers.
on, you're not letting me finish.
Oh.
I did this specifically so I could garnish them, but you don't have to have fresh flowers. You can get dried flowers.
All right.
Okay, there.
Cheers.
Now,
Okay.
cheers.
Mhm. Oh, that's a good one.
Mine is really sweet.
I quite like that.
What is strong?
Okay,
try
I want
yours.
to try.
Yeah, try.
Try
I want
mine.
to try the purple one.
I know the Ember's gin is very nice, but there was a lot of syrup in mine.
That
Oh,
one
that
is
one's good too.
This is very botanical. This is the non-alcoholic one.
It is.
Yeah,
I like
like-
this one better than mine.
This one's
Mhm.
too sweet.
Too
Try.
sweet,
Mm-hmm.
which has a lot to do with the fact that the
You
syrup
poured
dumped in.
way too much honey in.
This is kind of like.
Ooh, I really like this
Yeah.
one.
It's
The
good,
non-alcoholic one.
It is good.
I think we should like add some of this into all the drinks. But you know
nice.
what? That honey taste is also very delicious.
I know.
So if you were making like kind of like a honey tasting drink,
Yeah.
that would be perfect. I would probably put a little bit more lime to break the sweetness a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, that one's
Totally.
super sweet.
It
But I
is.
actually, my favorite is a non-alcoholic
Yeah,
one.
that one has a
Good,
nice.
hey?
Yeah.
That's that bottle over there, right? That's
So
that
this is
see
a
it.
non-alcoholic gin that you can buy. There's actually I've got a whole bunch of them with
That is
different kind
awesome.
of stuff. So it's kind of neat because
Yeah.
you can have a cocktail without having a cocktail.
Mhm.
totally.
Which
It's
is
really
why
nice.
I buy a lot of non-spirited alcohol nowadays, because there is so many people that either can't drink or don't drink or anything like that, but you can kind of give them the experience without giving them the alcohol.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's is actually quite lovely. All right.
Yeah, that's
well,
awesome.
let's
We're just gonna share them all.
I'm just thinking.
Oh, I'm not
like,
touching mine again. That was too sweet for me.
Too
well, we
sweet.
can probably mix them together.
Mix them together.
Yeah, just put them in there and stir them all.
Yeah.
See how it
Anna's,
goes.
Anna's gonna mix them. Okay,
It's on
while
mission.
Anna's
Is-
mixing all of our
yeah.
cocktails
Don't
together,
look.
we're gonna talk about what makes a suite legal, and then we're gonna talk about how does that differ in regards to your value.
Mhm.
So first of all, you are our suite expert.
Yes, I guess
Michelle?
I am. Yeah.
So Michelle, talk about the basis. What is the difference between a legal suite and an illegal suite?
Yeah. So, well, an illegal suite just isn't up to date with the different codes. As the generations of code books come into play, they're constantly changing. And so, if you have a illegal suite, it just means that it's not to today's code book. Which doesn't mean, again, we went over this before, like it doesn't mean you're breaking the law, staying there, or having renters in there. It just means that it's just not current, but it could technically be grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So you're still allowed to rent it out. It's just not up to the current code book.
You don't like the sweet one.
There.
Sorry. Anna gave up on the sweet one.
No,
that was
I
smart.
used a little bit of it, and then I
Okay.
mixed the botanical for flavoring, and
It's a nice. It's a nice
and the color.
Yeah.
No?
color now.
The color
And
Yeah.
it's
is so
pink.
pretty.
Yeah.
It is really pretty.
There, look.
Cheers.
I like the
Yeah.
colors. So let's see if it's better.
I like the flowers as garnish though.
It's good.
That is good.
Flowers of with garnish.
So definitely
good.
Yeah.
sweet with a little bit
Yeah.
of acidity, but that botanical flavor comes through really
It's
good.
nice.
I mean, obviously defeats the purpose of drinking an alcoholic drink.
Well,
Mix it with an alcoholic gin.
I know, but
but-
sometimes people just want a
But-
cocktail without a cocktail.
So, and with the Empress gin, like if you guys know, like it depends what you mix with. That's what it turns into: blue, purple, or pink.
Mhm.
So, and I really like this pink
Mhm.
color. So,
It is.
yeah,
It is
sorry
really
to
nice.
interrupt. Anyway, mixology class here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so back to the sweet stuff.
Yeah, so that's what makes it illegal or be considered illegal to legal. And we talked last week about how to make a illegal suite legal again without going through the whole process of doing every step of the renovation that you have to do. We have a spongy on the floor right now. 'cause
Okay,
we
you
spilled a
keep
little bit of
talking. I'm
honey.
gonna clean.
Second of the honey. Yeah, and I think in terms of like, so yourself, you just went through constructing the legal suite.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a lot of perks in getting the legal suites done now
Mm.
because City of Calgary in itself has incentive. I think majority of municipalities have incentives to do the legal suites because number one, the safety of course is an issue. They want to for people to have a safe environment to live. And of course, they try and, as we talked about, expedite the process for people to legalize this suite. And yourself,
Yeah.
you just actually went through it's Alberta program, right?
Yeah, it's City of Calgary.
Oh, it's a City of
Yeah.
Calgary program.
Yeah.
Okay. That if you complete in a certain way, you pass all the tests, you can apply up to $10,000 to
Yeah.
receive back from the government once you build out and legalize your suite.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
You just got
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
you just got a check in the mail for 10 grand, which is the maximum you could get back.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny because I got an email that said that I was approved and everything was good, but it's like, approved for like what, like everything at all. They didn't tell you.
Oh,
And so you're just
okay.
kind of curious. You're just waiting in the mail, like to get your check in the mail. And then it came back and it was the full $10,000, which was great because it means that I did it correctly.
That's right. So,
So-
how much did it cost you to do your suite?
You stole my question.
So for my suite and holding costs and all that, uh, I I was in for about $75,000
Okay.
for the basement suite.
And is it 2 bedroom?
It's just a
One
one
bedroom?
bedroom,
Okay.
and right now I'm getting 1,250 in the basement, and it's in Dover. If you know that neighborhood, it's on the east side of Calgary.
Yeah.
And upstairs I'm getting 1,600, and then the garage I'm getting 300. So
Out of curiosity, you went some nice finishings. You made a really, really nice upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah.
And the 75K, was that for the suite upstairs and the renovation upstairs as well as the
Yes.
suite downstairs?
So-
So
yeah.
that was the whole house renovation. If you
Yeah.
were to just kind of say, what did I just spend on just the suite, what would that amount be?
Oh, just the suite, I would say probably around 60,000
60.
Yeah.
to yeah.
So you didn't
probably
do as
about
much
that.
upstairs.
No, not as much. So the upstairs, what we did, we had to add separate doors on the upstairs. Like we had to frame in the door, and then we did a full new kitchen upstairs, full new floors, and painted the whole upstairs. And so like a new kitchen, all new flooring, and all new paint, and
Yeah.
baseboards, like all the trim was redone. So like in the end, it's almost a brand new house.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that 75,000 was like for a brand
For
new
the whole
house
thing.
almost.
So
Yeah.
what's great about that though, so she ends up getting the $10,000 back. Now, if you're just doing the suite, we usually tell people to estimate about 40K for a legal suite. So if you're getting 10 grand back,
Minimum, yes.
yeah. So if you're getting 10 grand back from your municipality, then it's taking it down to a 30K cost. Here's a funny question, which I actually just thought of the other day. Is the grant money, because you get to write off the expense of building the suite, right?
Mhm.
But then you have to add the grant money to your income, or do you write off the full 40, take the grant, and it doesn't change your taxability on it? That was what went through my brain the other day.
Mm.
Because remember, technically you got 10 grand from the government. So
Yeah.
is that now income, or does it reduce the amount that you can write off against your taxes?
Do you know?
I don't know. I guess it depends on the accountant and how you claim the 10 grand. Like
I'm
if
just
you
saying, right? Like
Yeah.
that. I was just
I mean,
curious.
it's not a. It's. I mean, it's a very good question because I remember when you were getting the money from the government as a subsidy during COVID.
It was
had to-
taxable.
it was taxable.
Mhm.
So is the $10,000 grant taxable? It was a
But
super.
let's say you're getting like that what you call that the child payment. Is that taxable?
I don't get child payments.
Well, I don't get it either. I only heard that
Do you
it's
get
not-
child payments?
No.
No, we make
Certainly
too
not.
much money. Yeah.
Okay, so it was just something that went through my head the other day, which I thought was interesting,
Mhm.
but still super cool.
That is a good point, though. Yeah.
You know, like honestly, because you get to write off the full cost. But then if you're getting 10 grand back, does that reduce the cost you can write off, or does that $10,000 get added towards income? But that's for your accountant to ask. So please ask your accountant that question.
Yes.
That was just went
Yeah,
through
how
my
could
brain
you
the
do
other
that?
day.
For sure.
But again, we think about, okay, so if it's going to cost you 40 grand to put the suite in, the question is that going to give you your money back versus doing an illegal suite? Now, realistically, an illegal suite, you may not have to do as much, but you'll probably and honestly get about 10 to 20% lower rent and sell the house for 10 to 20% less. When
Mhm.
you think about the average cost of houses nowadays being $600,000, and I would say with suites, like you're getting in low at 600, like you're looking with suites 700 at least.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's about 70,000 to $140,000 worth of expense, increasing the cost of the property, or even increasing the cost of the expense that you'll get for rent. So all of those things matter. So again, look at it. $700,000 property. It's going to cost you 40 to 50 grand to put in the suite, but it's going to return you 70 or 60 to $120,000 extra and additional value on top of that when you go to sell the property. So when you're looking at that cost benefit reality, you are better off to have a legal suite than you are to have that illegal suite.
And then
Yeah.
ongoing costs like insurance. Insurance is also cheaper. I
There
don't
you
know
go.
how much cheaper, but definitely, probably $100 or So a
It's
month?
like, when you look at it, it depends. I mean, when we talk to our clients, it all depends on your long-term goals, right? Like, what are
100%.
we're talking about here? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it to sell? Are you buying something that you can convert?
Mhm.
Legal, illegal suite. Sometimes not going through that. I mean, sorry to say, but it is pain in the ass
It is a
to
pain in the
do
ass.
a
Yeah.
legal suite,
100%.
to legalize it. There is a lot of still hoops to do. There's a lot of paperwork. You can't cut corners, so to speak, because it has to be done in a certain way
And it's
in order
inspected.
to be
Mhm.
registered. Right, exactly. And if you are not a licensed electrician or plumber, or any like HVAC person, you cannot do it yourself because the permit has to be pulled. It has to be done professional, and it will be checked by City of Calgary.
Yeah.
So there is it's not as easy. So sometimes, if for example you want to own a legal suite, let's say it's an investment property, sometimes paying, depending on the neighborhood, that extra 50K and saving yourself the time and hassle on the property instead of starting from zero, right? Like it's just
100%. The other thing I was
Yeah.
going to say is with a legal suite, weirdly, you can count for more of the income towards your qualifying
that's
on a
right.
legal suite than you can on an illegal suite as well. So those are other things to take into consideration as well, is that you're going to be able to boost your income higher with that legal suite than you would if it was an illegal suite.
And it generally rents for higher as well.
It does. And then again, you don't have to worry about someone calling the city and having you shut down, which right now they may not be enforcing huge because of the housing shortage. But one day we're not going to have a housing shortage and the tides may turn. And if the
Mhm.
tides turn, it's a risk. And so you
Mhm.
always have to look at your risk tolerance. Here's another thing that I actually thought was super interesting that I was doing the other day. So I was doing a market evaluation on a condo that was in a higher proximity value. And one, I was showing them the absorption rate graph because I'm a graph geek. And what's happened is as we've gone, kind of started coming out of this big, huge boom, we've started seeing the demand for the condo market versus the detached home market come apart again, like we used to see before COVID, because they came together because of affordability. But as more houses, detached homes have hit the market with suites in them, it's become more affordable for people to purchase them and live there and qualify and all that kind of stuff. So in that higher end of the condo market, it's drawing that demand off the higher end of the condo market
Mhm.
and putting it into the detached home market because now people have mortgage helpers. Now people are being able to qualify and now they're being able to subsidize that mortgage payment. So it's something to consider when you and I do it for people all the time too. If you're looking at buying a townhouse, my first question is have you looked to see what you can qualify with a suite in the basement?
Mhm.
That's
Especially
right.
because you're going to be paying condo fees
Yes.
and all those
100%.
types of things. So, yeah.
Well, and we have a great story about a great client who came to us and they said, "Hey, here is my maximum monthly budget." And they're like, "And I can't find any kind of apartment or townhouses that will keep me in that budget."
Yeah.
And again, we did
Because
the
the
same thing.
condo fees actually were killing that budget.
And well, even
Mhm.
that the
Yeah.
more like the lowest that they could get into a condo was $400,000. So I'm
Yeah.
like, so $400,000, the mortgage payment, the condo fees, the taxes, and all that kind of stuff is going to keep you above your budget just by function.
Yeah.
So then I said, what about a suite? So now we got them to get a half duplex with a legal suite in the basement, and they're going to be able to live. And I just did the numbers for them. So this is all utilities, all property taxes, all mortgage. They're going to live for $1,100 a month on the
Yeah.
property they just bought. So how stoked is that,
Oh, that's
right?
amazing.
I know. We're well below their budget, like
Yeah.
almost $900
Yeah.
below their monthly budget, and I got it all done. And that's what the important part to consider when you're looking at these suited properties, legal versus illegal, and why it's important to really think about that suitable potential. Because even on my house, I don't need to put a suite in my basement, but even I've thought about it for a resale potential in the future.
For
Yeah.
sure, yeah. And we had another client in March. We did exactly the same thing, and I think it was also like $1,200 for the monthly payment, also up and down duplex. So that was worked out really fantastic, and she was able to afford it on a single income.
Which is
Yeah.
fantastic. Although
So
I did,
Yeah.
you guys will laugh at this. So my son, I'm looking for a house with a suite in the basement once he gets a job for him to purchase. And there was one that came up just down the street from me, and he said to me when I pointed it out to him, he goes, "Mom, I think that's just a bit too close." My heart hurts.
Oh.
Like, I think it's a perfect
No,
I don't
let's
blame
stick
him.
with. Yeah.
I remember when I lived like literally it was a down the hill from my parents, and every time I drove out of my cul-de-sac, I could see their house, and I was like, I gotta move.
He goes. He told me. He goes, Mom, I need space.
I need space. The space isn't enough.
No, I'm like, but it would be
I
great.
can
You'd be so
understand that.
close. I can still take care of you.
My parents
Yeah.
just walk in through the front door still. I'm like, there's a doorbell and you could knock.
Yeah, there you
So
go.
space is nice.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So speaking of space, next week.
Yeah. So what we're talking about?
Next
Are we
week
doing the
we are
space?
doing the Lychee Storm, and we're talking about how to manage insurance claims when your home is for sale, which has come up a lot since the
Yeah,
hailstorms, and
definitely.
it's going to probably come up again this year. And it's so funny because people always think because they have an insurance claim on their house they can't sell. We sell them all the time.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
we've even had it where the insurance claim has happened while it's sold.
Oh my god.
Oh, you got the hailstorm happened while
right.
it's
Yeah,
already
yeah.
sold, right?
That's
But you
right.
can navigate through all those things, and yeah, I think a lot of people think it's a deal breaker, and it's not. So
Not
it's
at
cool.
all.
Yeah.
All
Definitely
right.
not.
But this
Okay.
month we are giving away our
Smoking
set.
gun.
So
Yeah.
remember, this is to help smoke your cocktails, smoke your cheese, smoke your meat,
Yeah,
smoke
like
it all. It's going to be a nice hot
it's like
smoky summer. So
you
please
see that
make sure.
steak.
I
Yeah.
have something similar. I really need to try to see if I can smoke some some steak with it.
So stick with it.
Yeah.
You can start with a
love, and
cocktail.
share us on YouTube, on
Fair.
TikTok. We're totally stepping up our TikTok
Yeah.
game. Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. So please make sure like and share us on all of those. Love, send us to your friends, family, and coworkers. But one of the things that we love the most, and it was really funny because we had this big conversation about an advert, how to kind of market, but market by educating people. And I said, you know what, it's so funny because that seems to line up with us so much more, like just being there to educate people, to help people, to make sure they're making good decisions. And it aligns with all of our values so much more. So if you have anyone who is wanting to buy or sell a house, has questions, anything like that, make sure that they give us a call. There's no dumb questions, and we'll answer all of them and make sure that they understand what's happening because it's important to us that you actually make good, educated decisions, whatever those decisions may be.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my sister-in-law today. She lives in Edmonton, and they bought a house, and they didn't find out. I was like, "Oh, you guys bought a house? Like, congratulations! Like, does your husband don't talk to you?" I'm like, "Obviously not." So she was proceeded in telling me that there was like 4 offers on the house. So Edmonton is going a little bit through that upper market. They paid 40 grand over asking price, which is not bad. I mean, the house they got is like way better than us. Like you would never get the house like this in Calgary. You guys still like way cheaper there. And I said like she's like, yeah, like one we didn't know if we're gonna lose. I was like, you know what you should do? You should call your sister-in-law. It's like, well, no, we had a realtor in Edmonton. I was like, I usually still call it your sister-in-law because you could have done like a price accelerating clause, which wins 99% of competitive offer. She's like, I never heard of it. I was like, that's right, because you need to call your sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and
To
we
find out
already
about
went
it.
through the market, right? Like we
Yeah.
already went through the highly competitive
Yeah,
market.
yeah.
So we know all the tips and the tricks and stuff.
That's
to get
right.
These offers won. Speaking of winning,
Oh,
we
yeah.
are top.
Oh my God, I
95
couldn't
in
believe it.
Western Canada for the
Yeah,
month
of April. Yeah, wow.
Out of all the teams
Yeah.
in Remax, we got 95
For Western Canada, yeah.
for Western Canada for the month of April. So
And there's a lot of them.
thank you.
Yeah.
Really awesome. So thank you. Like I was
Yeah.
looking at some of the names on there, and I'm like, woo, we're in the leagues with these people. So that was fantastic.
I know some people probably look at this as like, well, look at that. We're in the leads with those people,
Well,
right?
and out of the 100 agents, what's funny is there's probably 10 from Calgary of Western Canada.
Oh, no
10 of
way.
them were from Calgary. Most of them were from BC.
Yeah.
About
Awesome.
10
Yeah.
of the teams in the top 100 were from Calgary. So
Yeah.
it is a huge deal for us.
Yeah. And when I do tell people, like, because Calgary's market is so challenging, it's so unpredictable, you really need to have an experience and understanding how the whole real estate thing works here. That experience that we bring, like 1998. Yeah, 2006. Michelle, very long time.
So
You know?
Michelle's
Very
funny
long
though.
time.
So Michelle's new to real estate as a realtor, but
Not
like
that new, 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, well she's 5 years in, but it's her. I'll be honest. You teach me so much
Oh,
about the
thanks, Robbie.
permitting and all that
Mhm.
other kind of stuff and the
Mm-hmm.
building. Like I knew a lot about building, and then you come and you talk, and I'm like, oh, tell me more.
Exactly.
I
Like
come from a different angle
that
into real
know.
estate.
that
That's
knowledge
helpful.
and experience being in this challenging market really
Mhm.
speaks value because a lot of not every realtor doesn't matter where they are have this experience. Like I had the same thing with my girlfriend who was buying a house in Houston. Their realtor did not experience such a big
Mhm.
up and down, and they were going through competitive market. I was like,
Absolutely.
this is what you guys need to do. Like my realtor told me she's not going to be available till noon, and there is already 6 offers. I was like, so by the time the realtor decide to write an offer, they already had the information that I told them to pull and how much the pool is going to cost and all those things. Because you those decisions, if you don't know how to make them on
Mhm.
the spot, you
100%.
will lose those competitive. And despite of what you guys see right now in social media or media, whatever, Calgary's market is not all equal, and we still I competed in like over acreage, $1.5 million acreage competed
Yeah.
over the weekend.
100%.
Not like it's just sitting there waiting for you to like buy it.
No.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
crazy.
Yeah.
So, but
So
anyways, thank you so much. We're gonna see you next week. It's an awesome market still. Give us a call.